That's a pretty Ferry-like round to end it, at the very least. Ferry, whoa. All right, so I guess let's talk about Ferry. All right, I guess let's talk about Ferry, because I am I don't know if my overall opinion on Ferry's strength is that different than what it was, right? But certain parts of her are worse than I thought, and certain parts of her are a lot better than I thought, right? So it's something to discuss potentially. Next is Bubs, my main. That's right. People just don't want you to find out how good you all in the Wayne are. I want to play them. I want to play every I'm gonna pull up the tier list today. People are gonna be like, why are you all in the Wayne there? And I'm gonna be like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, for the 10th time, I don't know how good they are. Just for the Dust Loop, they're saying SVA is good as a reactive anti-air. Never used it like that so far. I mean, it is air blockable, right? It's air blockable, but it will also, like, it is gonna hold them there forever for you to then do whatever you want with them, right? So I see where they're getting at with that, right? It sets up the world's easiest air unblockable from there into whatever you'd like. So I get that idea. Though no, depending on how late you're reacting, no invincibility on it can be scary. Right. I just tier list have an I don't know tier for Yule, Luana, and Charlotta. I kind of do know on Charlotta, honestly. I'm down to play her to see if I'm wrong, but Charlotta's not in the I don't know tier. Yeah, HGG is 40 frames. Well, okay, so let's talk, right? So, obviously, some things that are good about Ferry that I think everyone probably agrees on before we get to it, right? This shit, right? Just like the GG into high-low, right, is obviously very, very strong. It gives her, she's one of the few characters who has, like, an unironic real-life 50-50. Now, not the scariest 50-50 in the world, right? You're not going to, like, Ferry's not sending you to hell when you get hit by this, right? There's certainly much harder-hitting mix in the video game. She does still get scaled to hell and back when she does that, right? But it's, it's something. She does have a way to, force you to guess, open you up, right? Can really help her either seal out a round or snowball a situation more in her favor, things like this, right? At least people would leave you alone on Charlotta until you play her. Fair. But I mean, on Charlotta, I'm down to stand on business until I see evidence that proves me wrong, right? So yeah, like that's obviously quite good. I mean, obviously just she's a zoner, so her strengths as a zoner are inherently very strong, right? Very, very big normals. When we talk about, like, her far L is bigger than, I'm pretty sure, like, it's way bigger than Grand's far H, right? It's like twice the size of Grand's far H, damn near, right? So obviously, like, obvious things, but just to get them out of the way quickly. Really big normals. The speed buffs on a lot of them also help a lot, right? This being 7 frames and this big lets Ferry do some, like, she can punish some things that really, like, is not really feasible for a lot of characters, right? Like, I mean, something like this, I think, right, is -7, right? So, like, I punished Grand's light fireball at some point in this run, and I don't think I've ever done that on any other character before, because I don't know if any other character besides her can even do this feasibly, right? Maybe, like, Sora's with his 623H in certain spacings, right? So, having a 7-frame button that is that large gives Ferry Axe some punishes that just, like, really no one else gets, right? Right, big normals, GG stuff is obviously very good. Honestly, like, decent ability to convert off of some of her normals. Not like anything crazy, right? But like far H or like a counter hit on the mediums, right? And then you're able to get H dispensed, right? And then from there, I mean, that's not, it's not like that's amazing damage, but considering it happened from basically the entire screen away, that's still, it's pretty good that Ferry can do that, right? It's certainly nice for her to have that. And you can get, you can get fancier with it too, certainly. But even as just like a super basic combo, even just that is already pretty nice, right? Ferry also lacks certain punches in return. Oh, we'll get to the weaknesses. Don't you worry, right? Well, yes, I'm talking right now about things that I think are quite good about Ferry. There are problems here, right? I know everyone wants both the zoners to burn in hell, and they think they're like top 5 characters, but like there are problems with Ferry, certainly, right? But we'll get there in a second. The big one, honestly, like one of the really, really big things that stood out to me on Ferry that I like knew was good going in, but just like when I actually was forced to sit down, think about it, manage my meter and consider how it works, this super feels really nice, right? It's not literally Rashid level 2, because I said that a couple of times. It's not literally Rashid level 2. If it was Rashid level 2, it would be like a giant, like it'd be a vertical wall, right? There is still, like, it is a moving hitbox. It's hitbox you can try to get around, right? You can sneak under it, you can go over it sometimes, right? But this is just an incredibly strong, and now, if she does it raw like this, right, she is -30, I think? -41, right? If she does it raw like that, she is -40, so certainly, if you have any sort of fireball or full screen move, you can kill her for it. In some matchups, though, kind of like Vera install, she can just do this at full screen, and it's very strong. And if she ever gets any kind of knockdown, right, that you can also just set this up. And this really is just... It's kind of hard to fuck with this thing, man. It is kind of really incredibly hard to fuck with this thing. It stays on hit, it stays on block, it stays for a long time, it chases you down. Ferry can kind of hug the wall here, so you can't even, like, run away from it to get away from it, right? At that point, you have to come at her, which means you're interacting with her and the ball. And obviously, the big thing is, just like GG, this can set up for the exact same situations that GG can, right? Where you're blocking the separate hitbox, and then, you know, Ferry can go overhead or low, and depending on whether, if you guess incorrectly, then the ball holds you and she starts a combo, right? So, this is a really nice super. The big thing is that someone did correctly point out to me is I don't think there's one frame. There's one frame as Invul, right? There's one frame of Invul. That's why I don't like it as much as you do. You can get around it. It isn't Rashid. You just have to eat it. Well, I mean, if it was Rashid, it would literally be like, yes, the Rashid's is literally broken. This is very strong though, still, right? You can get around it. Does it always give a BP? Yes, it does. You can get around it in quotes, because again, if Ferry is hugging the wall here, you can't just run away from it, right? And if you're running at Ferry while this thing is up, you can get around it in quotation marks. There's a Ferry here. There's a whole separate character that can stop, like that can interact with your abilities to go to quote unquote get around it, right? I think you're overstating what I said a little bit. I'm saying it does have more counterplay than Rashid level 2. If you know what I'm talking about, though, that's not really saying much. That's like saying I can't deadlift as much as fucking half 4 Bjornsson. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm weak, right? It does remove BP. I think it removes BP on a hit, right? It's not just going to remove it if you block it, but it will get rid of one of your BP, and it will always get her the BP on Super Flash, as is normal for Supers, right? So, this is really good. Now, obviously, it's not a reversal, right? It's not a reversal. That is a problem. Ferry lacks a super reversal until she gets to SSBA, and even her SSBA is not exactly a great one, right? But honestly, I mean, I feel like that's a very worthwhile trade, right? I feel like that's a very worthwhile trade to lose out, because I mean she still has a metered reversal, right? She still has a UDP. It's just that if she wants to like really have a high risk, high reward reversal, she doesn't really have one, right? That feels pretty worth to me. This, I need to put some more thought on it, right? At first and second glance, right? I have thought about this throughout the whole run now. I think this is just the best super in the game, at least the best SBA. Maybe I'm missing some crazy ass SSBA, but this might just be, right, like, it's funny because Midnight did bring up a good point earlier that technically this is not as good for other characters as it is for Ferry because no one else has the fuzzy license anymore. No one can hit you with a rising aerial, right? So, like, even though Grand, theoretically, he can, like, you know, JL you on the way up or something like that. If he, I think his might be more height dependent, right? There are a lot of characters that could... A lot of characters had, like, worthless fuzzies last patch, where, like, they could do, like, a landing JH into an immediate JL, and, like, technically, it could fuzzy you, but they'd be minus 30 on block or on hit, and they would die or something, right? Does it catch things like boot and such trying to punish it? I mean, there's certainly times where I've traded with things, right? There's certainly times where I've traded with things, and then if you trade with Ferry here, if you don't outright kill her, you're going to die, because you are being held for this long, and Ferry only gets the knockdown from your move, right? There were a couple of times, even within this run, where I traded with something, and then I got up and killed them anyway, right? So this is probably just the best SBA in the game, and I think if they hadn't patched out everyone's ability to do rising overheads, this is the kind of thing that every single character in the game would probably make this trade-off, right? Almost every character in the game. It feels like every character in the game. I don't know who wouldn't. But I feel like maybe Lane, I don't know if Lane would rather have Human Pyramid. I don't know. Vera would probably rather have her install super, right? But like almost every character in the game would probably rather have this SBA over their SBA. This is really like the big of the things that like I didn't really think about as much about Ferry before I started playing her. This super really is the big story of this master climb to me as far as like a strength that I hadn't considered, right? Yes, it costs 100 meter, obviously, but I mean, are you fucking kidding me? You want this, like, if this thing costs 50 meter, if this was something you can just do without paying meter, I mean, this will be ridiculous, right? It's already absurdly strong with the 100 meter cost. Like, saying, oh, but it costs 100 meter, you know, is like, sure, yes. I mean, thank fucking Christ that it does, right? If this didn't, this would just be, I mean, she just would be the best character in the game straight up, probably. Who would like the super more, her or Lance? I mean, it fits really well with what Ferry does exactly, but like every character in the game would love to have this, right? Imagine this on Sandalphon, but would have different properties based on his element. That'd be cool as fuck, actually. That'd be cool as fuck. So yeah, I mean, I think the things that are strong about Ferry are relatively clear, right? Honestly, Ferry I don't think is a very complicated character in general to evaluate, at least, right? I will say, 7 frame far L also, one really big thing is we're going to talk about defense in a second. Like, out here in the Grand Blue zone, Ferry's really good, right? Pressuring Ferry from, like, this distance is a very common thing that a lot of good characters will do to you, right? Pressuring Ferry at, like, this spacing, or having a 7 frame button that's going to be competing with you from, like, these distances is really nice. Now, of course, it's a light, so if you stick out literally anything that you would be doing from these distances, right? Characters are going to be hitting their far M's, their far H's, things like this, right? But, like, if you're trying to space yourself out to run pressure against Ferry, it's a bad idea, man. She's really, really, really good in this space, because, like, there just isn't a button that competes with this. There's not a button that competes with 7 frames at that range. It does not exist, right? The button does not exist. Like, maybe the closest thing you could find will be, like, Vasaraga 5M at 11 frames and being about as big. But again, that's a 4-frame startup difference. Well, would it be better to use this super in neutral or use it in a combo and set up with GG later, you think? Honestly, it's also, yeah, it is also pretty good in combos too, right? It kind of depends, right? You can't use this so it is lower damage than your average super. It's 2500. So, like, you are going to get less damage out of this, but it does a weird thing with combo limit, the super, if I remember correctly, where, like, you can kind of, like, do it, see, combo limit, right? But you can kind of then just, like, keep kicking the guy anyway. It lets you just fit in a bunch of attacks anyway. So it lets you cheat combo limit a slight bit, right? So it ends up being not as bad of a combo ender as you might initially see, right? Oh, I see a done-off knockdown. Oh, yeah, I mean, again, she is minus 41 if you do it in neutral. Now, you can get away with that in some matchups or in some game states, but, like, it is best done knockdown into let's go, right? And this situation is just so fucked up, man. Right? I mean, and God forbid, you know, she fucking gets to do this into this or something. You have GG and this fucking ball out. I mean, you're just not, right? This is one of, like, if Ferry has a plus enough knockdown, if you can, like, place GG down on your ass and have this coming your way, there are few situations that any character can put you in the entire video game that are, like, more one-sided, I'm gonna kill you now, than that right there, right? So super is truly exceptional. Her defense in the Grand Blue zone also, like, pretty good with this buff to far L, right? Nothing not insane necessarily, because a lot of the times characters aren't necessarily standing, like, literally, like, this far away from you, right? Like, they're not going, like, back here, right? Where far L is truly exceptional, right? People being, like, over here, like, you know, Grand's far M is going to compete with her far L at this distance. But she still does have a very fast, very big button to be using, right? Now, the thing about defense, though, is that's kind of where, in my opinion, well, okay, also, if she does get a hit, right, one big positive, this side swap, right? If she does get a hit, I get the full screen back to fuck around with again, right? So, like, while her damage reward on defense isn't necessarily amazing, like, she can do some stuff like this, right? If she wants to get a little bit more damage, I think, if I remember correctly. Maybe it has to be a little bit closer to you, but, like, you know. Or no. No, I'm thinking, this counter hits, right? 1, 2, that into 6-6H, and then you can get the side swap and a bit more damage, right? But yeah, the damage is nothing exceptional, but the reward on defense I would still classify as pretty good because of the fact that it gives the zoner the entire fucking screen to work with again. If she just does this, and then backs away, right? She can't get her GG Oki off this, very important thing to note, is, unless she does UGG, right? But, like, HGG here is at best -6, because it's your plus 34 off of this, right? You can see, plus 34, and HGG has 40 frames to set. So if she does this, she's straight up punishable. It's not like a minus. It's unsafe to do that, right? So like her, like she can't like doesn't get like insane reward off this, except for the fact that she gets the entire fucking screen to work with again, which for a zoner is obviously a really big deal. That's one of the big problems. Is like if you spend too much time running away, you get cornered, right? She doesn't like being here, right? So the ability to any hits you get. Pretty much anything will always, even on non-counter hits, I think, right? Even like a far L, if I remember correctly, like non-counter hit far L, yep, still goes into light dispensed, and then you get the side swap, right? So Ferry's reward when she finds that hit is actually pretty good for her, right? It's not insane. It's not like the characters that'll take you corner to corner, which is basically a side swap, and also do like 5-6k to you. But she at least gets the side swap, which is a big deal, and a big deal for her in particular. Now, besides that, that's kind of where the good news ends on defense. Ferry's buttons are really good when the guy's over here. Ferry is... I mean, I don't know if she's the worst in the video game. It feels like... I think Matera has better things to work with here, right? She's worse than Vasaraga in terms of buttons here, too, like right up in his face. Voss at least has, like, some kind of, you know, threat of, like, staggering him with, like, U-tackle and stuff like that, even if it's not that real. Right? So, like, she might just be the worst character in the game to when you're right here. Right? When you're right here. Her DP is kind of ass, right? Her DP sucks. She doesn't have a meterless one. And her buttons are all, she has a 6-frame close light, which is probably a lot of characters have, right? Slow close M as well, right? 7-frame close M, 9-frame close H, nothing too good here. And her 2L is 6 frames, but also, I mean, look at this fucking shit, right? Look at that shit. Like, it's literally a third the size of Grant's, is that right? Is that a third the size of Grant's? She just has, like, she has the worst up-close buttons in the video game, basically, right? It felt, as you might expect, she deserves this. I'm not saying she should get buffed about her. I think Ferry's good as she is, right? But, like, as you might expect, Ferry felt absolutely horrendous to play when a guy was right here, right? And, you have Brave Counter, of course. Everyone's got Brave Counter. Everything's computer. You always have Brave Counter. But like, as expected, when I figured that, you know, Brave Counter being nerfed is probably a big deal. Like, Ferry doesn't like that very much, right? Her close L, yes, is also +2 instead of +4. It has more recovery on it than usual. It's also only +6 on hits instead of +8, right? So like, you know, as you might expect, Ferry felt absolutely horrendous to play when someone was right on top of you right here, and the Brave counter changes hurt her a lot, right? Matera, you could argue, is like, it's a side grade, because it hurts her defense in the same way, but also, you know, she can use it, like, she can use it for fucking, like, hop setups and things like that, and, you know, etc, etc, etc. This position feels absolutely, genuinely horrendous on Ferry.
Remember your training.
Now, again, if you ever find that 2L or something like that, boop, oh, and 2L doesn't even go into Gespenst. I thought it did. Well, you can go into close L though, right? 2L, close L, bulk, right? So you ever find that 2L, then you're probably good. Even if you go into 2L, 2L, far L, right? Again, same thing. 2L, 2L, far L, and then you get Gespenst. So like, if you ever find that 2L, you're getting your side swap, so it's fine. But like, her odds of finding, like, getting out of the situation when you're right on top of her like this are some of the worst in the entire video game. On the bright side, her reward is still better than some characters. Like, Eustace is always the character I look at in terms of, like, a character who just gets fucking nothing for being right on defense, right? But yeah, like, the risk she takes to do anything when you're this close to her. I mean, you can, like, shimmy Ferry accidentally, right? You can be, like, just walking back and forth here and just end up shimmying her 2L because it's that, no other character has that problem, right? You have to be way further out for Grant's 2L to miss. But if you're just, like, walking back and forth here, you might accidentally shimmy Ferry's 2L, right? So this is, like, truly, truly horrendous, and it's even worse than I thought it was, right? So, Ferry's super, I think, is even better than I thought it was going in, but, like, this up-close defense is, like, genuinely, unironically, unabashedly terrible. This felt hopeless, right? Narm's 2L is pretty bad, too, almost as bad as Ferry's. In Kagura, right? One of them is better than the other, I thought, right? Kagura 2L is the one that really sucks, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so this is just a genuinely, just, it's a horrible situation, right? And then, yeah, on top of 6-frame close light, on top of no meterless DP, every, like, bad defensive value you could have up close, Ferry has, right? Now, with that in mind, besides that, as far as weaknesses, this is something that also matters, right? And something that Matera struggles with too, is that I feel like I mentioned this when it comes up a lot, and I think at this point, it feels like most people see this as a bigger deal than they used to back in the day, right? So I don't think I have to, like, harp on this that hard. But it is true that Ferry has 15,000 health, right? Another, like, that is bad. That's not like whatever, yeah, that sucks. Like, that's a big weakness, right? In the exact same way that having 17 or 18k health is not like a nice to have, it's a really big deal. Having 15,000, there are going to be situations where Ferry is going to die, where Ferry is not going to get a chance to continue the round, where most of the cast would, right? I had multiple times it came up in the Master Run, I called it out explicitly the one time, where, like, a Catalina, I think, ran a combo on me, which barely killed me. They were almost dead. The combo barely killed. It wouldn't have killed Gran. It wouldn't have killed Catalina. It wouldn't have killed Jita. It wouldn't have killed 90% of the roster, right? It only kills Ferry, Matera, Lancelot, Nier, Seox, and Abel, right? I guess that's not, it's like, it wouldn't kill like 70% of the roster, right? Yeah, 80%, because it's 35 characters, 6 people, yeah. So like, it's a really big problem to have 15,000 health. Ladiva easily 2 touches? I mean, if she can get in, but yes, Ladiva, as a Ladiva, I can tell you, I do not ever struggle to kill Ferry, sir. This is a big deal, right? I'm not going to harp on it for too long. I think most people agree at this point, but like, that is genuinely a very large weakness that Ferry has, is having that 1,000 less HP, right? Besides that, I mean, her anti-airs are finicky, to say the least. 2H is weird, right? It really isn't as big as you think. Like, it looks huge. It's big. It's a big 2H, right? It's a big 2H, but it is obviously air blockable, right? That's a bit of a problem, right? And at certain ranges, I think if it gets air blocked, it might not even be your turn afterwards, right? If I tell Gran to not to jump here, right? Oh, I told him to not block. My bad. Stop jumping, good sir. -1, right? So, like, at certain ranges, I mean, a lot of times it will be your turn, but it'll be spaced out a little bit. But, like, you know, the point is, this thing is air blockable, and it's, like, usually, like, not a great situation for you either when they air block it, right? Fucking -1 on block right there. Burn Whip makes it look even bigger with a little head at the end. Yeah, so, I mean, this is obviously not great. Beppo stands in as a pretty decent anti-air. But obviously, again, the only air unblockable version of Beppos that are, you know, air unblockable the whole way through is this guy and this guy, right? So you're either spending resource or like you're spending meter or a cooldown. Or meter and a cooldown, right? This works well enough, though. I found Beppo to be at the angles that you usually want to contest as Ferry. People are not usually cross-up jumping Ferry that often, right? And if they do, she has her close M now, which this is a lot better, right? Like, in these situations, her close M is a lot more reliable for, like, those up-close sort of jumps than it used to be. It's heavy attack level now, things like that, right? So that's a big buff they gave her, certainly. But, like, I found Beppo to be relatively consistent at the angles people are usually jumping in on Ferry at, right? AKA, like, they thought you were going to far H or 2U or something, and they jump, like, here, right? This jump arc right here, this is, like, Beppo's bread and butter. He's gonna smack people out of the air for that, for sure. Is that normal for most DPs? I think that's how Anila's are. Only H and U are air unblockable completely. Yes, yes. I'm not saying it as like necessarily a weakness of Beppo. I'm saying like it means that for her to have a good anti-air at distance like that, she has to spend a cooldown basically, right? Whereas most characters, DP is like it's a second option, you know. And also most HDPs are also frame 1 invincible for characters that have them like that, right? So like they also get to it's like if you're late you can use DP, otherwise you have your 2H, right, for higher reward. So yeah, like her anti-airs are not so awesome, right? I think M Beppo is air unblockable for the first bit, like most MDPs, is that correct? Oh, maybe he's not. Wait, hold on. Oh no, M Beppo is entirely air blockable, huh? I thought he was like, because most MDPs, the first hit is air unblockable and the rest of it's air blockable. Looks like Beppo is also always just air unblockable. So that is actually a weakness of her DPs compared to most of the game, right? Most of the game, I think, like, let me double check real quick, but like Grand's MDP, yeah, right, I set her to block. Grand's MDP, most MDPs are air unblockable for the first hit, but if I then hit Ferry higher up, right, then she can block it. And Beppo seems to not have this quality, actually. So that is something that's even a little worse for her than most of the cast, right? But yeah, so her anti-airs aren't great. Her defense is atrocious if you're right here, right? But now, here's the thing, right? I do want to bring up one more point about this. You could be like, well, I mean, it's really so bad that her defense is bad when you're in her face, when people pressure from the Grand Blue Zone all the time. Yeah, sure, but you shouldn't do this against Ferry, right? This is like, yes, that takes a like options away from your opponent, and that's certainly saying something, right? But the reason you don't do it is because, like, why wouldn't you do this? It's so rewarding to do this to Ferry instead, right? So it's not really like, oh, but she's good in the Grand Blue Zone. If you're pressuring Ferry in the Grand Blue Zone, you're just playing the matchup wrong. It's like a knowledge check, right? People should not be doing this. Now, it does mean that if someone pushes themselves out, right, if they just like do the regular offensive stuff and they push themselves out like this, right, this can just happen in the course of pressure. That helps Ferry a lot, right? But, you know, Ferry is also pretty weak to just getting staggered like this to stay in because of how bad her mash options are, right? So again, it's like, what would be a defensive strength if you know how the character's buttons work and the weaknesses of her defense? You can kind of just, you can keep yourself in, right? Like something you could say like, oh, like you can't do this as well against a character like Vasaraga maybe, because if you stagger him too much, you get you tackled and die, despite both of them having very bad matches, right? Ferry doesn't really have that big gun to your head if you stagger too much, right? I mean, Graham being +4 in his close L here, her fastest match option at range is like 7 frames, right? Like 6 if you're up close. Like there's a lot of times where Gran can stagger a bit and still be fine, probably. You can keep in her face for a long ass time, right? Things like even on block close M's and stuff like this too, right? She's one of the classic 6-frame victims to that as well. So like her defense really is quite horrible. Her anti-airs are not like awful, but they're not great, right? She can get pretty good reward off her 2H, I will say, right? If you do get like a counter hit 2H, I don't even know what the best she can do is, but even just like doing something relatively simple like this or something, right? You can get close H there too, I think, for even more damage. Right? But considering, you know, like she does even just something as simple as that, right? That's not horrible. It's you know, I'm certainly not looking at that and going like, I even feel it. Right? It's like she didn't even anti-air me. I don't think so. Probably can't even do 214U maybe at some spacings, right? But can you link a raw 214U off of M Gespenst? I am curious. Maybe? You got a lot of time when you pull them from far away like that and you charge it. You can get close H. I'm curious. Hold on. It's not really relevant to what we're talking about, but I never thought about this. Can I not do 214U while Gespenst is happening? Is it like a lockout like fireballs? Or am I just misinputting it that badly? Let me try to do simple input. No, I was just misinputting it that badly, yeah. So you can do stuff like that, right? Which, I mean, that's a raw use skill. I'm sure you can probably end up doing some funny damage there too, but he gets decent conversions for how big the 2H is, if it gets you. It's just more that the 2H is not liable to hit you that often, right? But yeah, so I mean, Ferry is pretty good. I think slightly, maybe significant. I don't know. I don't know what the average consensus on Ferry is. I definitely have seen some people who I think are overrating her kind of heavily, but I think Ferry is certainly strong in this patch, and she has a lot of, like, again, she can do a lot of like good things. Certainly, her just traditional zoning game plan as well, right? Is pretty strong, right? Like the fact she has so many different options to get, like, it's normal into Gespenst, or normal into spot dodge, right? Or normal into a different special move or something like that. Like, it's a pretty solid RPS situation that she, again, if she counter hits you, right? If you, like, catches a roll or something like that, then again, counter hits is where she does actually start getting some pretty good reward even off of her mediums, right? Again, I would call 4K good reward for happening from this far away, right? I would not call that bad reward, personally. So, like, her zoning game plan is certainly pretty competent. The frame data buffs as well, right, are a big deal. They help her a lot, right? A lot of buffs that Ferry has gotten have stacked up over time to make her a pretty solid character, I think. I know she won Evo Japan. I still am not really on the train of, like, this, you know, this Ferry character is, like, broken or even, like, that good. How many people do you think would literally kill me if I told them I thought Jita was better than Ferry? I think, like, most people, right? It's at least it's comparable. I don't know that I think that Ferry is, like, obviously better than Jita or anything like that, right? They're both good characters, but, like, I feel like I get a sentiment of, like, people think that Ferry is like, really, really strong, and I'm not quite sure. I feel that a little bit more with Matera, at least. I feel like I could say that a little bit more with Matera, right? I think that this character has more defined weaknesses to me than Matera does, at the very least. So, they're about even. Ferry may be slightly better. That's fine, yeah, right? I just need to learn how to fight her since she requires something else. Yeah, I mean, obviously, she has her own game plan, and you can't fight her the way you fight Gran, and her game plan is good now, right? She does have, like, a genuine zoning game plan where sometimes you're just going to die, right? Ferry does have rounds where, like, and it was very fun when it happened. Ferry does have rounds where the other guy just doesn't get to play the fucking video game, right? And, like, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty fun when it happens, but the one-sided dominance, I don't think I don't think we have to worry about that being, like, a real meme, a real problem just yet, right? It is what happened to me on 3 out of 4 rounds, yes, yeah. I mean, if that's happening to you while you're in one of those rounds, Ferry sure feels top 1. Whatever side, like, if you're on the side of the Ferry, or if you're not on the side of the Ferry, when you're the Ferry, it sure feels like this character literally can't lose, right? Ferry's okay. People are making ban requests against Matera, which, I mean, that's, again, like, I agree. Matera is definitely better than Ferry. Matera probably, U-Butterfly especially, needs to be toned down a little bit, but also, like, I mean, Matera's not that good. Matera's not even close to that, as good as some people say she is. I don't think, right? Maybe I'm crazy. Jita doesn't oppress as hard matchup-wise. I mean, Jita is a more well-rounded character, right? Ferry is going to have certain matchups, because Ferry's going to have certain matchups where she's way better than Jita would be, and way worse than Jita would be. Ferry's going to have a more polarizing matchup spread, because she is a less well-rounded character than Jita. Her strengths are stronger, her weaknesses are worse, right? Very similar idea with a character like Vayne, or the character like, I mean, Vasaraga at this point is pretty well-rounded, actually. A character like, like Ladiva, they're going to have matchups where they just stomp people, and matchups where they get stomped a little harder. Then, like, Ferry's worst matchup is going to be worse than Jita's. Jita's best matchup is going to be worse than Ferry's, right? It explains the hate difference? Oh, no, for sure, right? I mean, zoners are zoners, right? At the end of the day, I think that even if, say Ferry truly is, like, a high mid-tier character, I don't think that matters. People were complaining about Ferry when she was, like, demonstrably, like, a bottom 5 at best character. People still complained about her, right? Like, the community consensus when she was a bottom tier, maybe the worst character in the game, like, around Rising's launch, it was, like, in that discussion. I was, like, bottom 5-ish, right? And people still hated fighting her, so I'm not too surprised about that. People just don't like fighting zoners, right? But I think even now, I think that she's certainly, the days of low tier, or even close to low tier, Ferry or Matera, I think, are long behind us. But, like, I don't think, like, okay. I don't think I might. Where do I have her currently? She's better than Eustace, I'll tell you that. I do think she's better than Eustace. I redid my shit, man. Right, I redid the tier lists. Yeah. Ferry's a character you have to actually learn how to fight, not just assume how to fight. Yeah. Monolith, maybe, if I'm saying your name right there. Thank you for the follow. 1 sec. Let me re-judge this thing up real quick. I don't fucking ignore you all in the way for the 100th time. I don't know where I think they are. But like, yeah, this sounds about right. Ferry's good, right? Ferry is good. I don't know. I mean, if you wanted to put her like up here with like Ladiva and Galleon and Narmaya, I know everyone thinks is too low here. Like, you know, like Ladiva and Galleon and Kag and stuff like that. I think that's fair. But like, she's solid, man. Right? I think her at this point, I don't know tier for Luane and well. Honestly, fair. Like, I definitely should. Right? I definitely should. This is an image, so I'm not gonna do that. But I don't think I'm actually going to move Ferry from here, right? I think it's totally reasonable to have her in, like, low high tier, right? Though in that case, probably have to move... I think Matera is, like, a good half a tier better than Ferry. So you probably have to move Matera, like, over here, which I'm not quite sure I think she is, but... Like, I don't quite know that I think Matera is as good as, like, Percy or something. But she's good, man. I don't think my opinion on Ferry overall has changed very much. I think her defense is even worse than I thought, and this thing is even better than I thought, right? But, like, I think it kind of comes out in the wash. I mean, this probably is, like, a really big deal, and I've seen, like, to be fair, I have seen Iago do some fucking disgusting things with the super, right? So, like, if anything, if you wanted, you know, again, like, if you wanted to, like, sneak her, if you wanted to sneak Ferry above Jita and move her right here or something, I think that's fair, right? I don't think that'd be a crazy thing to do, or anything like that. I think Ferry is certainly, like, a good character. Might just go to? Yes. Ferry is a good character. Right? Ferry is definitely a tournament level, like a tournament winning level character, for sure, right? I would not be, I'd be surprised if I saw like multiple Ferries in top 8, right? But like, I would not be surprised, you know, I'm not surprised she won Evo Japan, right? I think like, honestly, like, probably like, Avatar excluded because his very nature makes him like very, very volatile, right? But you can probably draw a cutoff around, like, maybe either Lucius might be in it, Lucius might not be in it, but it's somewhere here, right? You can probably draw a line around here, where I would start getting a little bit surprised if a character was performing consistently, right? Obviously, you could be like, what about Charlotta? But again, that's Zerom is performing consistently, right? But I think, yeah, maybe, like, draw a line, ignore Abel, ignore Lucy. Vayne, I don't know about, but I think new Vayne is genuinely good enough to kill some people, right? So I'm gonna tentatively include him. You can draw a line around here, right? Like here and left and up is where I would not be surprised at all for characters to be performing at tournaments somewhat regularly, right? And I know people care about results more than I do, so I thought I'd mention that. But yeah, Ferry's good, man. Ferry's good. She's a solid-ass character. And I don't know that I want her... This might be blasphemous. I don't know that I think Ferry needs a nerf, right? Like, we can kind of end on this. I don't know if anything about Ferry feels like I think Matera. I don't think Matera is as good as a character like Catalino or Grimnir or Vosh, something like that. But I want Matera nerfed almost more than I want like fucking Versuja nerfed, because Matera has one very standout thing. You think Catalino's best in the game? Not necessarily. I mean, if you want to say Grimnir, I think that's totally fair. I think these two to me are probably Ferry's fine. Yeah. Like, I want Matera to be nerfed immediately because I want you, Butterfly, not Matera overall. I want you, Butterfly, in particular, to get worse. If anything, we can maybe even give Matera some slight compensation buffs for that. I don't even think I want Matera killed or anything like that, right? But you, Butterfly, in particular, that move needs to go. I don't think there's anything far off from Matera needs to die. It's good. It's a good-ass button, certainly. Matera's far L is certainly good. I think everyone can agree you, Butterfly, stupid, yes. But, like, I don't even necessarily want Matera's overall power level to go down that much, I think. Like, we need to remove that move, and maybe even give her some slight compensation buffs. Alright? Actual skillless button, low and plus. I mean, that's true. Matera's far L is certainly an insanely strong button, right? And Matera is a bit of a different beast. We can talk about her, you know, when we get her ass to master. But yeah, for Ferry, I don't think I really... You know, I don't think Ferry needs a buff, necessarily. I don't think she needs a nerf, necessarily. You can tweak some things on her. Right? Hellrat to master, that's right. You can tweak some things on her, but I feel like she's in a decent spot. She's a solid, strong zoner, and people fucking hate that, right? I think people fucking hate her for it. But I think Ferry is a solid, strong zoning character, and I don't think I have a problem with that necessarily. Weirdly, I'm also genuinely surprised. I thought Ferry was gonna feel way clunkier than she did, right? Like, I was expecting to have a bunch of, like, quality of life fixes that I wanted on Ferry. I guess they just did all of them before I played her. Because, like, things seem to just work a lot of the time, right? A lot of things, like, outside of, like, things that are just designed to not convert, right? Like, mediums don't convert into HP spend, so it's counter hits. That's, like, a balancing thing, right? She feels decently fine. I want buffs to dive kick, and I want her close L to be faster. I don't think so. I mean, dive kick is decent. I didn't use it at all, but, like, it's plus on block most of the time. It's plus on hits most of the time. It's a decent throw bait, and it's on a zoner, right? I think dive kick's probably good enough. And I don't want her close L to be 6 frames, because, like, the thing that is keeping Ferry in check, the reason I think Ferry is a fine character is because her defense is fucking terrible up close like this, right? Making her close L faster, that's not the direction I want to take the character in, right? I don't think I want to remove Ferry's weaknesses. They've already, like, shored them up a lot with things like, you know, giving her the speed buffs and, like, her far L and stuff like that, right? Things like the side swap, all of this. Dive kick is deceptive because it looks plus, but you actually just throw her and it's usually fine. True. It is a dreaded +2 on a 6-frame normal, right? It is the dreaded +2 on a character with no 5-framer, so that is fair. But, like, again, even then, I mean, in that case, really, that she's gonna gentleman to throwing you back, right? Like, it's not like you can just guaranteed throw her or anything like that, right? But yes, it is true that it's not like a real pressure tool. It's more of a throw bait, but it's kind of thing like it is a safe throw bait, basically. Is how you can think of it, which is that's fine. There's a lot of that's a for being not even a special move, just being a jumping button. It being a safe throw bait like this is pretty nice, right? So I don't think her dive kick it's not the greatest move in the world. I don't think it needs to be either, right? I don't think Ferry needs the best throw bait in the game when she's already one of, like, the 5 characters that's a real 50-50. So she's in a good spot overall. And again, surprisingly, a lack of, like, quality of life desires. Maybe I didn't play her for long enough, but a lot of her shit just kind of works. I mean, maybe just I'm like a stupid guy, right? I'm a stupid guy. Maybe, like, the input window for the pullback could be a little bigger. Because maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it feels like sometimes I want this pullback and I don't get it. And I'm not sure if that's just, like, me fundamentally inputting something wrong. I just kind of mash back and skill and a button, right? Which I know is not right. But every time I do that, it seems to be correct. Whereas if I try to, like, time it with, like, back and skill, I feel like a lot of the times I don't, like, I might not get it as much, right? So I kind of mash. So, like, maybe, like, making that input window a little bigger. That's, like, the one thing that sometimes I was like, oh god, I didn't want to do that, right? Otherwise, I think Ferry feels like they can stop here, you know? They buffed her. She was horrible on release of the game. Rising, not Vanilla, Rising. She was horrible on release of Rising, and they just kind of, like, gave her a bunch of really nice buffs. They changed some things about her, and I think we can stop here, right? We can stop here. I think the character is good. The character is strong. The character is functional. The character has well-defined weaknesses. Side games, I think you did a good job, right? Maybe just buffing the install somehow. True. Yeah, I mean, that is true. This is sort of a game-wide problem, unless your name is Uno. Right? Is that a lot of installs just aren't worth the price of admission. It's also a really hard sell to do install when, like, she, like, genuinely has the best SBA in the game, probably, right? So, I mean, you would have to, and Ferry already wants her meter a lot for things like you Hellrat, for things like her reversal, right? So, like, to make Ferry in particular use her install, you would have to make this so good. Because Ferry's options for meter are just, like, absurd, right? This is one of the best use skills in the video game, it feels like. Obviously, she needs her reversal really badly, right? Evo Japan is pretty important for her, too. And this is the best super in the game. So, like, you would have to do some crazy juicing to that install to ever make it stand up to, I see what you mean, though. Yeah, like, from a game design perspective, I don't like when characters have tools that kind of don't seem to do that much. But as far as I'm aware, install does let Ferry do some cool stuff in very specific situations, right? So, like, I don't think she needs it for, like, her strength, but I just don't like the idea of a character having, like, a big part of their kit that does nothing, right? If install didn't scale her damage to an immense degree, it will be incredible. She has absurd install setups you don't even use. Yeah, but again, like, if you make it incredible, then that's a whole buff, right? You have to take something else away from her. I don't want Ferry to be nerfed, I don't think, but I definitely don't want Ferry to be better than she is, right? Ferry right now to me is about as good as you can make one of these polarized characters without it being a real problem, right? Like in this Matera, by the way, if View Butterfly got toned down, I would argue Matera's in a very similar spot, right? Like, Matera, Ladiva, Galleon, Ferry, like, this sort of character, I think it's hard to make them better than around this without it starting to feel really bad. Which, like, by the way, right? That is, this is why I don't think Vasuraga is going to survive the winter, right? But, like, I think around where Ferry, like, Ladiva, Matera, like, around where these characters are is, I think, about as good as you can make these very polarized characters before it starts to start feeling really, really bad, right? I want Ferry to be better, like, as good as Grand. She's not that far off, right? Grand's better than Ferry for sure, but it's not a cavernous gap, right? She's, like, I mean, if I saw, like, someone, imagine someone had the exact same tier list as I do right here, right? And instead of Ferry being here, she was, like, next to Matera. right? Which is who's next to Gran. I wouldn't.
Remember your training.
That's not insane, right? It's not an insane take currently to say she's about as good as Gran. Gran's really fucking strong though. If you want her to be better than Gran, either you just want Ferry to be, you know, borderline top tier, or you want her, or you just don't think Gran is as good as I do, I guess. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with Ferry. And honestly, again, once it took a while to click, and it's still, I'm not gonna say that, I'm not gonna tell you that it's fully clicked or anything like that. Like once we started to get there, some of those rounds where they don't get to play the video game at all, very fun, right? Very, very fun on this Ferry lady.